Welcome to CSEGuru. In this session, we are going to discuss an example to implement nested loops in C. Example is to print a pattern like right triangle. So here if you are considering, we need to enter n value first, then the right triangle is. To print the right triangle, we have used the nested for loop. So here this for loop is the outer for loop and this for loop is the inner for loop. And outer for loop, if you are considering, this is the start of the outer for loop and here the outer for loop will terminate. And the inner for loop, if you are considering, and this is the start of the inner for loop and inner for loop will terminate here. So this is the control of the inner for loop and this is the control of the outer for loop. And here if you are considering the outer for loop, we have used the variable I value and it is initialized to 1. And check the condition whether I is less than or equal to n. Suppose if n value I have entered here is 5 means, it will check up to 5, n value 5 and increment I value. And inner for loop if you are considering, here we have used the variable j and it is initialized to 1. And check the condition whether j is less than or is equal to I value. And then after executing one iteration, j will get incremented. So now if you are considering, we have entered I value is 5. Now we will trace this nested for loop. So initially when I value is initialized to 1, check the condition whether 1 is less than or equal to 5. N value here we have entered is 5. Condition is true. So when the outer for loop condition is true means it will allow the control to transfer to the inner for loop. So now control will be goes to inner for loop. And in the inner for loop, j value is initialized to 1 and check the condition whether j is less than or equal to I. So if you are considering the j value, j is 1, whether 1 is less than or equal to I value is also 1. Condition true. And it will allow the inner for loop to execute only once. And the inner for loop statement is it will print the I value. So what is I value? I value is 1, it will print. After execution, j will get incremented. So now j value is equal to 2. But I value has not changed. Only j gets incremented. So check the condition whether 2 is less than or equal to 1. Condition fails. So now the inner for loop will terminate and control will goes to the outer for loop. And in the outer for loop, if you are considering, I gets incremented. According to this statement, I will get incremented to 2. So now check the condition whether 2 is less than or equal to 5. Condition true. So when the condition is true for the outer for loop, then only it will allow the control to transfer to the inner for loop. So if you are considering here in the previous iteration of outer for loop, inner for loop has executed only once. After that, inner for loop condition fails, it gets terminated. Again, control is transferred to the outer for loop. Now, this will be considered as the second iteration of the outer for loop. So, in the second iteration, I value is 2, 2 less than or equal to 5. Condition is true. So, control will be transferred to the inner for loop. Now, if you are checking here, in the previous iteration, the inner for loop has executed once and terminated. Nowhere it is related to the second iteration of the outer for loop. In the second iteration, the inner for loop will newly execute from the starting, from its initial value. That is the meaning. So now, when I value is equal to 2, control will transfer to the inner for loop. And here, it will start from the initial value of the variable j, that is j is equal to 1. So, it will check the condition whether 1 is less than or equal to I value is 2 here. Yes, condition is true. And it will allow the statement, print statement to execute once. So, I value is 2. So, now it will print 2. After executing, j will get incremented to 2. Now check the condition whether 2 is less than or equal to 2. Condition true. Again, it will execute one more time. So now again it will print the I value. So 2 will be printed. After execution, j gets incremented to 3. Check the condition whether 3 is less than or equal to 2. Condition fails. So now the inner for loop terminates and control will be transferred to the outer for loop, and now will be considered as the third iteration of the outer for loop. So for every iteration of the outer for loop, the inner for loop will execute repeatedly until its condition fails. So this is the logic of the nested loop. Again, I will get incremental to 3. Check the condition whether 3 is less than or equal to 5. Condition true. Now control will be transferred to the inner for loop. And inner for loop will start from its initial value j is equal to 1. Because previous iteration inner for loop got terminated. It won't retain any of its old value. So now this inner for loop will start from its initial value. So when j is equal to 1, check the condition 1 less than or equal to 3. I value is 3 now. So it will print I value 3. And when j is equal to 2, 2 less than or equal to 3, condition true. Again it will print 3. When j is equal to 3, 3 less than or equal to 3, again it will print 3. Then when j is equal to 4, condition fails. So the inner for loop will terminate. Again control will be transferred to outer for loop. Now I will get incremented to 4. Check the condition whether 4 is less than or equal to 5. Since outer for loop condition is true, again control will be transferred to the inner for loop. Now when j is equal to 1, it will print I value. J is equal to 2, it will print. J is equal to 3, it will print. J is equal to 4, it will print. Up to I value is equal to 4. When j is equal to 5, the inner for loop will terminate. Again control will be transferred to outer for loop. I will get incremented to 5 now. So 5 less than or equal to 5, condition true. And now again control will be transferred to inner for loop. And inner for loop, it will print I value 5. When j is equal to 1, j is equal to 2, j is equal to 3, j is equal to 4, and j is equal to 5. When j is equal to 6, I value is 5 only. So inner for loop condition will terminate. Again, control will be transferred to outer for loop. Now, I value is 6, but our n value is 5 only. So, 6 less than or equal to 5, condition fails. Now only the outer for loop will terminate. So, every time when the outer for loop condition is true, control will be transferred to the inner for loop. And the inner for loop will execute repeatedly until its condition fails. Till its condition fails, this inner for loop will execute repeatedly. So now when I value is equal to 6 only, the outer for loop condition terminates and now control will transfer to the next statement in the C code. So when the outer for loop condition fails means control will not be transferred to inner for loop. So inner for loop also will not execute. Now totally control will transfer to the next statement of the C code. Now it will return this output in the output screen. So now it has printed the right triangle with numbers. Similarly, in the print statement, instead of I, if I have asked j value to be printed in the sensor, what it will print? Suppose n value is equal to 5 means, if I have asked to print j value means, so when I value is equal to 1 and j value is equal to 1, it will print 1 only. So in the second iteration of the outer for loop, when I value is equal to 2, it will allow the inner for loop to execute twice. So here j value, it will print 1. And in the first iteration of inner for loop, it will print j value is equal to 1. Again, j gets incremented. In the second iteration of inner for loop, j, it will print 2. Next, third iteration of outer for loop, when I value is equal to 3 means, it will print j value initially 1, 2, 3. So, I have already told when the outer for loop condition is true for every iteration, j value will start from its initial value, not with the I value, updated I value. It will start from the initial value. So, it will print from 1. So, when I value is equal to 3, it will print 1, 2, 3. When I value is equal to 4 means it will print j value from initial value 1, 2, 3, 4. When I value is equal to 5, it will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So previous example we have discussed to print the I value. So I value, if you are asking to print in the sense, it will print like this. That is 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4 and 5 in all. Likewise, it will print. If you are asking to print I value here. If you are asking to print J value means it will print like this. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here I value, if you are asking to print in the sense, same number it will print in the total row. So just here we have changed the print statement variable. Instead of I, we have asked to print J. So both we will get right triangle only, and this is the difference. Suppose instead of I or J, here if you have asked to print star in the sense, we will get the output like this. That is star, star pattern, we will get it like this. So instead of that, you can ask to print alphabet also like this. Suppose if you want to print the right triangle with the inverted value means, consider here, it is enough to change the outer for loop condition. So here, instead of I is equal to 1, that is, instead of initializing with the initial value, initialize with the last value. What is the n value we have assigned? Initialize with that value, that is I is equal to n, and check the condition whether I value is greater than or equal to 0 and decrement the I value, since we have used the highest value here with the n value. So here we need to decrement the I variable. So if you are doing like this in the sense, and if you are asking to print J value here in the sense, you will get the inverted right triangle. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So up to 5 value, that is n value, if you have given 5 in the sense, up to 5th value, I will get printed. Next iteration, I gets decremented, so it will print only 4 values. In the next iteration, again I will get decremented, it will print only 3 values. And in the next iteration, 2 value and next 1 and next condition fails. So if you are asking to print I value here in the sense, you will get like this. The inverted right triangle, you will get like this. It will print all 5 in first row and second row all 4s, third row all 3 and fourth row all 2 and fifth row 1. This is the inverted right triangle if you are asking to print I. Similarly, you can print the alphabets also. So for that, 2 changes we need to do. That is, here we need to initialize the alphabet from the letter A, and we have to declare the alphabet. And here we need to print the alphabet value. After printing, it should get incremented. Suppose n value, if you have given 5 in the sense, we will get like this: A, B, C, then A, B, C, D, and then A, B, C, D, E. You will get the output like this. The same thing if you want to print the inverted right triangle means, here we need to change the outer for loop condition. That is I is equal to n and I greater than or equal to 0 and I minus minus. If you have changed this outer for loop condition means, you will get the output like this. That is A, B, C, D, E, then A, B, C, D, A, B, C, A, B, and then A. So this is the inverted right triangle for the alphabet. Only a simple changes we need to do, then we will get the proper output, whatever we want. So this is the example to implement nested for loop to print the right triangle using nested for loops here. Thank you for watching this video.